I used to sleep with my TV on every night when I was younger. Not because I was scared of the dark or anything. I just hated how quiet my room got after everyone else in the house went to sleep. So every night, I'd leave some random late night show on, playing low in the background, and eventually drift off. One night, when I was about 16, I woke up suddenly for no reason. The TV was still on, but the volume had gone weirdly muffled, like I was hearing it underwater. I remember opening my eyes and immediately feeling like something was wrong in the room. Not danger exactly, just that awful feeling that someone is standing there watching you before you actually see them. At first, I thought it was my dad checking on me because there was a figure standing near my bedroom door, but something about it looked strange. He was too tall, not unnaturally tall, but tall enough that his head almost blended into the darkness above the doorway. And even though the room was dark, I could clearly make out the shape of a wide-brimmed hat. That's the part I remember the most clearly. Not a face, not eyes, just the outline of that hat. I kept waiting for my eyes to adjust enough to make sense of what I was looking at, but they never did. It stayed completely black, like it wasn't affected by the light from the TV at all. Just this solid silhouette standing perfectly still beside my door. I pulled the blanket up to my chin and just stared at it. I don't even know how long. It could have been 10 seconds or 10 minutes. It never moved. Never walked toward me, never said anything. But the longer I looked at it, the heavier the room felt. Eventually, I squeezed my eyes shut and started repeating to myself that if I opened them again, it would be gone. And when I finally did, it was.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sisters of the Strange. I'm Shae.
And I am Landrey. And if you can tell by our little intro story and most likely the title, then you can guess we're going to be talking about Mr. Hatman.
I'm excited to hear about this.
I actually haven't heard too many stories about him previously or prior. I don't think I've ever really looked him up that much.
Oh, really?
Not really. I know what he looks like, the general idea. But I learned a lot more in this research than what I originally had gathered about him.
He's a pretty popular guy.
Yeah, and there's a lot more theories and types of stories.
That I'm excited to hear about the theories. I don't know that I'm versed in those.
I went through different types of dreams that he's in, scenarios he's not in dreams, but in person. I always thought he was more of a sleep paralysis demon, but there's a lot more that I unpacked that I hadn't been aware of.
Interesting.
It is very interesting. Do you have anything before we get into the episode? I don't really have much going on.
I don't think so. I don't either.
All right. So the Hatman is known as a tall black silhouette, and he's darker than the surrounding darkness with no visible facial features. Mm-hmm. So in the first story, how they described that you could see him, and it seemed like the TV light wasn't even a part
illuminating
of him.
Yeah,
it wasn't even doing anything to him. He wears a wide-brimmed hat and a long trench coat and is normally seen standing silently in corners, hallways, or doorways. There is usually an intense feeling of dread, paralysis, or being watched during his sightings, and most of these events occur during sleep paralysis episodes. But, oddly enough, the Hatman is not always seen alone. Sometimes he's seen with lesser sleep demons, and I have some stories of that. This is one of the ones where I've never heard of him having
an accomplice.
Yeah, basically. I've always heard it's just Hatman standing, staring at you, and you can't do anything about it. That's the general stories I've always read. Is
he's just there.
He's there. You're in sleep paralysis, and there's nothing else. He doesn't normally talk to you. He doesn't normally say anything. That's the general basis I know of him.
Okay.
So the first story is, I used to have sleep paralysis every night for years as a kid. The Hatman and the shadow people made their appearances often. The hag, too. Anytime he was present, there was an air of authority about him. Not that any of them ever spoke, but it was just something you could feel. Sometimes he would just stand in the doorway and watch as I was tormented by the others. And I know that sounds weird, but if he was there without the hag or the shadow people, he would just do sprints up and down the short hallway outside my door.
Ew.
I know. I'm that sounds so disturbing. Close your door.
Yeah.
One time I woke up and there was a sleep paralysis demon peeking at me from the side of my bed, inches from my face. The only thing visible was their head. It was a void black silhouette that looked like they had scraggly fur all over. Their eyes were so wide and white, I swear they didn't have any eyelids. Its facial expression had the most terrifying ear-to-ear smile. Its teeth and eyes were both wider than anything I've ever seen. I swear they almost glowed in the dark. I am pretty sure they were related in some way, but not certain because it happened again in a different part of the house while I was sleeping. Except that time, it was the clearest image of a human man. His gray, scraggly hair was generally the same shape as the fur, but he was definitely human-looking. He looked sickly and homeless. I obviously started screaming and clambering away from that side of the bed, waking up my parents, and he was gone. My brother slept on the outside edge after that and admitted to me a couple of weeks ago that he saw him that night too, but never wanted to say anything. And he described him just as perfectly. So if you recall from our sleep paralysis episode, which was quite literally episode number 3.
Yeah.
Then you'll remember we talked about the hag. And so the hag is the sleep paralysis demon that sits like on your chest where it like feels like it's like sucking your life force out of you. And I find it interesting that the Hatman seems to be a higher rank than the hag.
Okay.
Like this person made it sound like the Hatman was in control of the other entities. Like the Hatman was kind of over
sleep
here.
paralysis entities.
Yeah. Like he's like a higher sleep paralysis demon, which I've never heard that, but I've also never heard of him being in stories with other entities.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
that's interesting take.
Yeah.
I kind of like it.
I'd never heard that. So I found another story. I was like, oh, let's find another one. So this next story combines the idea that the Hatman is the higher of sleep paralysis demons and is a very strong entity. He's found watching the smaller demons attack the dreamer. But what is odd is that he's not just like standing in a corner. Instead, he seems to be orchestrating like tests for this individual. Like he seems to be orchestrating the dreamscape basically, because it's not the same kind of dream where you wake up and you're in your room.
Okay.
So this one, when I was a teenager and in my early 20s while at university, I had quite a lot of unexplained experiences. I didn't have anyone to guide me on how to hone my sensitivities, so I think I was left open to be vulnerable. Among other things, I was often visited in dreams or visions by the so-called Hatman. I always understood him to be not of God. He was not Satan himself, but definitely something from that realm. I had a few encounters with him. He had no face, just a dark silhouette with a hat and overcoat, and was often accompanied by small demons. In most cases, these visions were extremely long ordeals and often would result in testing my faith. There was one time, when I was probably around 18, in which I was in a rather surreal landscape, very much like a painting. There was a moving staircase that was made of innumerable oddly shaped objects. Some were geometric, others were everyday objects, and all sort of moving in the same fashion as an escalator works. I was placed upon this thing, and I was required to ascend it. It was not easy because the various objects were not connected to each other, but they were firmly in position, so I was able to support my body weight stepping on them like going up a flight of stairs. However, everything was in motion. This staircase also moved higher into the air and further away from the space underneath. I seem to recall a very ruddy, dusty coloration of everything. The objective was to ascend the staircase and do everything to not fall between the cracks. And the only way to ascend was through my faith in God. I remember it as being arduous and frightening. I was constantly calling out to angels and to God to help me. The Hatman was always just there, silently watching. There were little laughing imps grabbing up at my ankles from beneath, and every so often I'd miss my footing but then go back on again. I don't know how long it lasted, but it felt like an extremely long time. So that dream, you can imagine, like I had a hard time the first time I read this story. So let me like simplify what I'm seeing now. Basically, he's in just like, I'm imagining like a TV and like a game show or something, but like a blank screen with like a TV or like a kitchen table or a chair, but they're all like stacked to where he can climb them as a series of stairs. Yeah. But they're all kind of floating. Yeah. But when you step on them, they don't go anywhere. Like they don't go drop down or go up. And he's having to like kind of ascend this. And there's little creatures between all of these items, like grabbing his feet and like laughing and making it harder for him while the Hatman's just kind of sitting there silently, like watching him go through these trials.
That's so strange.
It's very strange. I haven't heard Hatman be tied to religion either. Or like
me neither.
Rotated through religious type of thing. So he also had another story. In another episode, he took me to an old Victorian-styled house. It was nighttime, but there was an unidentified exterior light source, a sort of yellow-orange glow. The Hatman was always able to communicate to me, but not through words. I never felt direct fear in his presence, but I was fearful whenever he would appear because I knew he was bad and that I would have to submit to another intense ordeal. In this house, full of old objects, much like you would find in a good quality antique store, I was handed this sort of goblet or chalice that had 5 spherical encasings within it that were about the size between a golf ball and a tennis ball. I was made to understand that I would have to dodge a series of objects while catching these 5 orbs into their specific places within the chalice. It was an exhausting ordeal, not in the least bit frightening, but I was besieged with tiny flying demons, various objects, and these orbs were very hard to catch. I ultimately caught 3 of the 5 and was made to feel as though I hadn't done well enough, but just enough for the time being. There was another element of testing my faith in this episode, and I remember the next day speaking to a friend about it who worshiped in a Pentecostal church and had the gift of discernment of spirits. I am Catholic, but we often shared this kind of gift and a sense of prophecy. After I witnessed the demon attached to a girl I went to school with, combined with a desire to no longer see the Hatman, I closed down those receptors and haven't seen him or any other demons since.
Wow.
Yes. So these stories, again, interesting to me because it's not him just standing in the corner of the room. He's like orchestrating and controlling the dreamscape that this person is in. And I don't know if maybe the Hatman is something he had, read a Reddit thread on or seen on social media or something like that, and then was, having a hard time in his faith or whatever, and was like combining the two in his dreams. I don't know that. And so it's interesting to me because it's like, where does the Hatman truly fall in to this?
Yeah. And why?
Yes.
Is it so...
It's very
treacherous.
It's very
treacherous.
Yeah, it's very elaborate.
Yeah.
And like whenever he was writing that story, there was a quotations. I took it out and it was like, I hadn't seen Harry Potter yet because it, I guess, sounds like the Quidditch game or whatever.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But he did like make a little reference that I thought you'd love because you love old Harry Potter.
Love it.
But yeah, I've never heard of, I guess, the Hatman orchestrating.
Yeah, that's
other demons and dreamscapes.
That's very intense and elaborate and like almost like deep, like really deep.
Yeah, it adds to, because I have other situations where I'm like, what is Hatman? Like ultimately, what is he? What does he want? Who is he? I have other stories that we're going to go over. And so like this just will play into our, at the end, like,
okay,
what, who, why,
Yeah. Yeah, because I have a lot of those questions.
And you're only going to get more questions after I read the next stories, because I have them grouped in like categories of what he's doing or what's happening. So some people believe that the Hatman is caused by sleep paralysis, and sleep paralysis is essentially when the brain is partially awake while your body's still in a dream state. We talked about it in our episode 3. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. But it is basically when you're in such a deep sleep and you're waking up, but your body is still in paralysis mode, and that's why you can't move or do anything about it, but your brain is still in the hallucinogenic type of phase, and so it all combines together and kind of holds you down. So scientifically, when people are seeing the Hatman, it may just be their mind creating the image in their semi-dream state. There are 2 things I want to discuss here. 1, if it is all just a figment of one's imagination, what about the people who have experienced him without ever hearing of him? Mm-hmm. Because there are stories of people who they'll put it on Reddit or YouTube or in other forums, and they're like, I've never heard of this man, but this is what I'm dreaming about. So how are they all dreaming about him?
And everybody's like, oh, it's the Hatman.
Yeah. How is he something you've made up? And how are so many people making up that same scenario, I guess? And then second, some people tie sleep paralysis to stress, trauma, sleep deprivation, or other medications. And so this is where I'm jumping into our next little category here. Apparently, which I never knew about it, Shae had heard about it because I texted her and was like, what? Like I had never heard of this. So there was a trend in like 2010 and 2020, between 2010 and 2020, where people were intentionally taking Benadryl at high dosages, by the way, not just like one, to try and hallucinate in order to meet the Hatman. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have combined like Benadryl and the Hatman together. So like when I hear of one, I think of the other.
Really? Yeah. I had never heard of it. Mm-hmm. It makes sense.
Yeah.
because whenever I take random, like not random sleep medications, I don't take random sleep medications. If I take like when I'm sick, if I take like Mucinex DM or NyQuil or whatever, or if I take a Benadryl, I'm having allergies, I normally do have weirder dreams. And Murphy does too. Like Murphy doesn't like to take like anything sleep medicine related because she's like, my dreams are so scary. So we'll talk a little bit about that after the stories, but definitely something I think is strange.
Mm-hmm.
So this first story, I just recently learned that the Hatman I met while high on Benadryl is something that around 20% of people experience while abusing Benadryl. With that knowledge, I'd like to share my experiences with him. Back in high school, I wanted to try literally every drug I could get my hands on, if not just to experience it once. I heard that enough Benadryl would make you hallucinate, and it was the easiest thing for me to get a hold of. So eventually, I bought a box and took every little pink pill in it.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, I'm like, how big was the box? Because they're normally like, I think 12 or 24, right?
Too many to be taken at once.
Yeah, don't do that. After about an hour, I was seeing shadow people in the ceiling corners and peeking over from the end of my bed, spiders crawling all over my room, and at one point, my television became a giant fog cloud that formed into an eyeball and turned to follow me as I moved around my room.
Hell yeah.
That sounds like you are overdosing.
Tripping balls. Yeah.
You were close to death. At one time, I was going through a pack of cigarettes every couple of days without a second thought. I was young and didn't care about the consequences of really anything. While sitting at my bedroom window, chain smoking, a black figure came and sat down on the floor next to me and reached his hand out for a cigarette. So I gave him one. We then sat in silence and smoked a few cigarettes together. It was honestly one of the least scary things I'd experienced thus far during my Benadryl high. After 3 or 4 cigs, he handed me my lighter back and unnaturally twisted his head nearly 180 degrees to look me in my eyes. I couldn't see any facial features, but I could feel him staring into me. Seeing his head twist like that jarred me. Like I said, I don't see any facial features, but I can just feel his crooked smile, like an innate feeling. He says, "These things will kill you, you know." Then as soon as I blinked next, he was gone. And as I looked down at my pack of cigarettes, I realized I had yet to smoke a single one. I have not touched a cigarette since, nor have I taken Benadryl. Shit gives me bad vibes now.
Period.
I would imagine as much.
Damn.
I feel like my microphone keeps like slowly
dropping.
I know
mine always does.
I'm like hunching with it. So that kind of leads me. Do we think that Benadryl or medicine, we've kind of talked about it a few times about the influence of those things. Do you truly believe that being inebriated or under the influence can enhance your ability to see spirits, open portals?
Yeah.
But why?
There's just a different type of like vulnerability there.
Like, does medicine
like
change
your conscience is
something?
Your conscience is clouded. You know, like you're
just more open.
Yeah.
That's like something I wish I knew more about medications. I don't know much.
You're just kind of like there, you know, like if you think about it, like you take yourself out of your constant
like reality thoughts.
Yeah, like reality thoughts, fight or flight. You know, some people live in that like constant fight or flight stage.
Yeah.
Some people don't, which is nice for those people, I'm sure.
Must be nice.
Must be nice to not have to do that. But like medications and things like that, they cloud judgment. Alcohol clouds judgment. And I just feel like it takes your conscience to like a place where you don't have to think about anything.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about worrying about anything. You don't have to think about not worrying about anything. You're just kind of there, you know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Kinda?
Yeah. I found a YouTube channel. I sent you one of their videos. I've watched a couple of them and it's like Scared and Impaired or something like that. And they're basically going into haunted places impaired. And they're not all on the same drug. Some are on mushrooms, some are smoking marijuana, some are drinking alcohol. And they're all trying to like do ghost investigations. But the problem is they're also inebriated that none of them even remember that they're doing ghost investigations basically.
So they're just having a time.
It ends up just being funny. But I'm like, I wonder if they could really like hone in and get serious about it. Normally the one on mushrooms is more in tune.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm sure the one on mushrooms could probably figure it out.
Yeah. And they take 2 people who stay sober and the sober people kind of try and guide them, but it doesn't really work.
Like herding cats.
Yeah, it is. It really, but it's really funny. I can't think of things like Friday Beers or something like that. is like the channel. It's super like fun and entertaining, but I wish they could kind of like lock
pinpoint,
in to truly see the effects of being
more open or whatever,
inebriated and going into a place like that. I think it'd be very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Or apparently, I guess they need to take DMT. I've heard about DMT, and apparently that opens you wide up.
Yeah.
Wide open. Sounds terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Also, take note in this part of the episode, we are not telling you to do any of these drugs.
Please say no to drugs. Please say no.
I would never do any of this. I don't recommend anyone else to ever do any of this either. So
say no.
Say no. Okay, there's another Benadryl story. So back in college, I used to take Benadryl pretty often because my allergies were awful, and honestly because I knew it would knock me out. One night, I took way more than I should have. I think 8 or 9 pills total over a couple of hours because I just couldn't get to sleep.
Good God almighty.
I cannot even take kids Benadryl without being knocked flat on my butt.
Yeah. I couldn't even tell you the last time I took a Benadryl.
I have horrible allergies. Yeah. So if I'm having like net pregnant, no. And probably after that, probably no.
Yeah.
I haven't taken like any medication in over 12 weeks. And I'm like, why go back?
Yeah.
Like no Tylenol, no nothing. But regardless of that, I used to take Benadryl and it knocks me out. And I normally do have weird dreams. But I have horrible allergies. So
but you're also taking a normal amount.
Yeah, I take one or kids Benadryl.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Kids Benadryl will zonk me.
I'm sure it would do that to me too.
Literally like a kid's dose.
I couldn't even tell you. I can't remember the last time that. I can't remember the last time I took a Benadryl.
It'll knock you flat on your butt. I have a friend who's like, yeah, I take 2 whenever I'm having really bad allergies. And I'm like, I would sleep for 5 days straight.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so this person took 8 or 9 pills total over a couple of hours because they just couldn't get to sleep. At first, they felt normal. They had heavy eyelids, a dry mouth, and that weird floaty feeling. But around 2 a.m., things got weird. I remember lying in bed, scrolling on my phone when I started hearing little noises in my apartment. Nothing dramatic, just subtle stuff. Like cabinets creaking in the kitchen and the sound of someone shifting their weight on the floorboards. I genuinely thought my roommate had gotten home, but then I remembered he was out of town for the weekend. That realization made my stomach drop instantly.
Mm-hmm.
I locked my phone and listened. The apartment was dead silent for maybe 30 seconds. Then I heard 3 slow footsteps in the hallway outside of my room. I sat up and stared at my bedroom door, waiting for it to move, but nothing happened. Then my TV turned on by itself, and it was just static. I grabbed my phone to use the flashlight, but my arm suddenly felt insanely heavy, like moving underwater. My heartbeat was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. That's when I noticed someone standing near the TV. At first, I thought it was literally just a shadow because the room was dark, but the longer I looked, the more shape it had. Tall, broad shoulders, long coat, and what looked like an old-fashioned hat. Not moving at all. I remember trying to tell myself, you're hallucinating, this is from the Benadryl, but it didn't feel like a dream. It looked real, like there was an actual person standing in my apartment watching me. Then the paralysis hit. I couldn't move, couldn't yell, and my entire body locked up except for my eyes. I tried so hard to lift my arm and physically could not do it. Meanwhile, this thing just stood there. And I swear on everything, it slowly tilted its head at me. I've never felt fear like that before in my life. Every instinct in my body was screaming that something was deeply wrong. The static on the TV got louder and louder until it almost sounded like whispering underneath it. I know how insane that sounds, but I could have sworn multiple people were talking at once, just too low for me to understand. Then the figure moved. That finally broke me. I squeezed my eyes shut because I genuinely thought if I kept looking at it, I was going to see it come and stand over my bed. Next thing I remember was waking up sometime after sunrise, drenched in sweat, the TV was off, and my bedroom door was still closed, and there was nothing there. I never abused Benadryl again after that, and to this day, if I wake up in the middle of the night and see a coat hanging in the dark, my heart still drops. My only thing I can take from any of this is that Benadryl basically knocks you on your ass and puts you in REM sleep. And that's the only way I can explain why you see these things. And you already have a prior knowledge of Hatman. You already have something, you're seeing him. But I think it does have to do with how deep you're in your REM sleep. Because Benadryl definitely puts you in REM sleep. So that's my only thoughts on the Benadryl, on what it does to make you hallucinate like that.
Yeah, it just puts you in such a deep sleep that you're so deep inside your conscience.
Yeah. Okay. One of the strangest things about the Hatman is how specific the experiences are from across all different countries, cultures, religions, and generations. He is not isolated to a person, a place, or a thing, and he seems to be a worldwide entity. People who share their story aren't just sharing a general shadow person type of experience, but instead they all describe the exact same figure, an unnaturally tall man dressed in a black trench coat, wearing a wide-brimmed hat, and standing silently in the corner of a room, doorway, or hallway. It freaks me out that people see the Hatman and it's people who have no connection to one another.
Mm-hmm.
That really, like, I don't like that there can be a child from America describing the same figure as an adult in Japan.
Yeah.
That really, like, it unnerves me.
Mm-hmm.
There are stories from Germany, Brazil, South Africa, and the United Kingdom that all repeat the exact same experience.
And it's not like it's like different versions of him. It's the same thing.
Except for now, I did find some varying stories, but he still has the overarching just like standing silently. He's not really talking too much other than the guy who said he like asked him for a cigarette, but like he's still just like this silent figure.
Creepy guy.
Yes, very. Another strange thing that was brought to my attention when I was reading stories and doing some research is that a lot of people experience him outside of sleep paralysis as well. Which is weird to me because I've only ever heard stories of him being seen during sleep paralysis. So, this is the first story of that. My sister is very sensitive to other spirits and energies. She's seen a lot of shit in her time, but most of that stuff was done in hotel rooms. She has seen the Hatman on 2 separate occasions. The first was when she was walking our dog around the neighborhood late at night. She thought a man was walking down the street toward her. She got this feeling of dread and unease and crossed the street to get some more space from him. My dog apparently started barking like crazy at this guy as he got closer and closer to them. She was looking and she said that he was dressed in all black and had a hat on. The closer they got, she realized he was made entirely of shadows, the darkest black you could imagine, and glowing red eyes and a black hole of a face. As they passed each other on separate sides of the street, it was staring directly at her, never taking its red eyes off of her, then continued to look at her walking backwards once they passed. My dog was going crazy the whole time, trying to run at it and attack this thing. She almost lost her grip on the leash and had to look down at our dog to grab his collar. As soon as she did, he calmed down and stopped barking. She looked up and the Hatman was gone. She then ran home and told her whole family about the experience. We are all believers in the paranormal and all sensitive to energies, but she sees the most for sure. The second time she saw him was in a hotel room. She and my 2 older sisters were sharing a hotel room. She was in bed by herself, and my sisters were sharing the other bed. At some point in the middle of the night, she woke up and felt the same feeling of dread. She looked in the corner, and she saw it. Same shadow body, same hat, same red eyes boring into her. It walked toward her and sat on the edge of the bed. She immediately started saying a prayer of protection. It got off of her bed, was standing and looking at her for a minute or so, then slowly walked to my sister's bed and sat on the edge of it. It mostly looked directly at my sister from the other bed, but would turn and look at my sleeping sisters every so often. She stayed up for the rest of the night, praying in her head, or she said when she started to see the sun rise at around 5 a.m, it finally faded away and she was able to pass out.
Oh my God. How exhausting.
Seeing it walking down the street at nighttime.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And just seeing just like black with glowing red eyes, just this black figure that you can tell is made of shadows.
Yeah, and you're not in a dream.
No, you are walking down the street
with your dog.
You sound probably something you do usually if you're willing to walk down the street at nighttime, something you feel comfortable doing.
Yeah.
Because I would not ever feel comfortable doing that.
No.
But if they are feeling comfortable doing it, it's something they probably do quite often. So both times she seems to have been very well awake to be able to even like recognize the time. And even the second part where she's like, it was 3 a.m. and then it was 5 a.m. Well, 3 a.m. I didn't read that part. She said she woke up at 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So she was awake for 2 hours and was experiencing it the whole 2 hours. Second story is, so I'm not new to seeing the Hatman, but something happened a few weeks ago that really disturbed me. I've seen Hatman since I was a child, not consistently, but every once in a while. I've always been terrified of him, but I got to accept him more and more as I've grown up as an adult. He would sometimes talk to me, very briefly, and it was always like he was waiting for something. But a few weeks ago, I had been sick, and right before I went to bed, I saw him again. Usually, I would always see him as I was falling asleep or waking up. I always tried to blame sleep paralysis for this. But this time, I was fully awake. There he was, just standing in the corner of my room. I was scared, but I've gotten used to him, so I didn't totally freak out. But then he sort of pointed his finger and suddenly a woman appeared. A fully colored woman. She was in her late 30s to early 40s, wearing a blue hoodie and short reddish hair. She smiled at me and reached out her hand, and all of a sudden, I realized that she had come there to take me away because I was dying. I was so sure of this. There wasn't a doubt in my mind, and I hate the thought of dying. I refused to go with her. I looked back at the shadow man, almost pleading with him. Then the woman moved closer to me, still with an outstretched hand, and I knew it was my time. I suddenly felt really defiant and screamed at the woman at the top of my lungs. She vanished, and I was left standing in the room shaking. My whole family heard me scream and came running. They found me shaking with a fever. I ate something, drank something, and took a fever reducer and went back to bed. But I can't help but feel like the Hatman sent a ghost to me to harvest my soul because he knew he always scares the crap out of me.
Ew.
So I'm telling my mom what I saw, and she tells my grandma. And apparently the last owner of the house fit my description perfectly. She even wore a blue hoodie all the time. I had no idea about this beforehand, so I was shocked. She died in the house at a relatively young age, and they didn't find her body until it was already starting to decompose.
Ew.
Yes. I'm like, I've got like 2 more stories, and then we kind of go over
Yikes.
general consensus here. So story number 3, my best friend lived with me for a year or 2 when we were in high school. I saw the Hatman once or twice in the middle of the night when I would wake up to use the restroom. I noticed him sitting amongst the shadows that were cast from the streetlights coming through the living room windows. It was very subtle, but because I was always halfway asleep, I never really thought much of it other than there's a man with a hat sitting there and I wonder if he knows I can see him.
Okay, cool. Chill. Relaxed.
Just don't look that way.
It's fine.
And then I would go back to bed. It was not until my best friend heard me mention it to my mom one night that I realized this was paranormal. My best friend essentially told me she had been seeing the exact same thing in the exact same place in the exact same setting, which is when she would get up to use the restroom at night. One thing we also both noticed was my cat, a black cat, was always present the moment we would walk from our bedroom to the bathroom. The cat would run out of the shadows into the hallway, and then he would be gone by the time we went back to our bedroom. I always joked about how my cat was living a double life at night and getting involved in God knows what. Now I realize as a medium and an occultist and a conjurer that my cat was probably actively interacting with whatever became present at the late hours of the night while we slept. I never felt bad or good energy from the Hatman. It was my cat who would always surprise me because he would run by our feet out of the shadows like, hey, nothing to see here, and then disappear back into the darkness. Okay, so I actually didn't have another story there. It was just those 3.
I love that.
So with all of this in mind, all of these stories, do you feel like the Hatman is like just one thing? Or are you thinking that the Hatman is like a legion of Hatmen? Because he's seen in so many places. Is he Santa? There's only one of him at all times? Or is there multiple things?
I think it's more ominous if you think of him as one person.
Yeah.
Like it was one thing being in all of these different places at this, like,
yeah.
being in control of all these situations as one.
And what's the end goal of that?
Yeah. Why? Just to scare everyone in the world?
I think he just like lives off fear.
Yeah.
So it's just like his life force is just to scare the shit out of you and go on and scare the next person.
Mm-hmm.
Very Monsters, Inc.
Without really having to do much.
Just, yeah, stand and watch you. And then I guess that would lead me to my next question is, why are some of these during sleep paralysis and some of these are when you're wide awake? Because sleep paralysis, you're like, oh, I'm hallucinating.
Yeah.
Not anything. But that also falls into the, how are so many people seeing him that haven't seen him before? Because your brain's not just going to conjure up this random thing that you've never seen before. So it falls into the same category as, why are some people seeing him during sleep paralysis? And why are some people seeing when they're wide awake? Like, is he an entity that is showing up to you in sleep paralysis because that's when you're the most vulnerable? You know, like you might be someone who normally dreams and isn't that vulnerable, or in your waking hours, you're not that susceptible to paranormal. But then if you're in sleep paralysis or on Benadryl, then you're more open. And so he's like, this is my chance. It's my chance to go scare that one to get the fear from her. And then I'll go on to my next ones. So is he taking like opportunities basically to show himself when he knows?
Yeah, he can.
So we think he's not necessarily a sleep paralysis demon, but just a demon or a dark entity in general.
So yeah, I could see him as this just like dark entity of everythingness.
Yeah, so
everywhere.
a dark entity that just takes its opportunities to see you.
Yeah.
So that's why sometimes it's sleep paralysis, sometimes it's daytime.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to call him a demon. I don't know that that's appropriate.
No, something of that realm though, maybe. Something of a darker side of life.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't seem to be just like, hi,
happy-go-lucky
hi.
guy. Yeah, sunshine and rainbows guy.
Yeah, which there was actually some stories where people said he felt more like a protector.
Interesting.
Yes.
I wonder if he chooses.
He's like, well, yeah,
like
maybe
you.
depending on your religion maybe or something. Like maybe it's you're on his side.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions here about Mr. Hatman.
Yeah.
If you have any theories, you got to send them to us.
He's an interesting guy.
There's definitely a lot more, I've definitely thrown out a lot more ideas than I think I've ever heard for Hatman.
Yeah, I agree.
On who, what,
I always just
when.
thought of him as the Benadryl man. The Benadryl Hatman.
Yeah, I just always thought of him as like this entity that just like showed up in your dream, you know? But there's some people who also seem to think that he is some form of reaper because like how he showed up in the dream telling, the person who's sick that was like, I think I'm about to die.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few other stories like that.
Okay. But it's not consistently that way.
No, and he doesn't always have like a scythe or...
Yeah.
So what would your thoughts be? Just that he's just like a dark...
Yeah, I just think that he's just a dark entity that just hangs out and takes opportunities to make himself known, and there's no rhyme or reason to it, really.
Yeah. That was honestly one of the Reddit threads I did read, and it was like, who or why or what do you think the Hatman is? That's basically what someone said. They were like, we don't really think he has a rhyme or a reason. We just think he wants to be seen.
Yeah.
Maybe to take your fear, but like outside of that,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like there's any overarching...
I don't personally see him as a demon, and also that I don't see him as a demon. I also personally don't see him as a reaper.
Yeah, I don't.
Because it's not consistent enough.
No, it's not.
That could just be because you were in a vulnerable state that you feel that way.
Yeah, like
and now
sick.
he's here.
Yeah,
because that's what he does. But I also don't know, like, what is his
like motive
purpose? Yeah, like what is his motive? Like what to make you scared? I don't know.
Yeah, and like what does that benefit truly him? Is that like his
Yeah.
life force? But like what?
Yeah. But like what life force is he trying to drive with that?
Yeah, what
with
is he trying
fear?
to ultimately get there with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of questions. If you have answers, you need to send them to us.
Because we want answers.
Yes, you can get in our Discord and send us answers. I will have a final story after this, but if you feel like you have answers, do not hesitate to put them in our Discord, which we have the links to in all of our show notes now, and send them to, like, you can send them to our email at sistersofthestrangepodcast@gmail.com. And if you have any stories about seeing Hatman,
Yes, please.
because
share
I
them.
don't think we've only had one story, I think, that had Hatman involved, and it was actually a Bloody Mary story where they had done Bloody Mary and had seen Bloody Mary and the Hatman together in like the bathtub or something.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, that's the only thing I think we've gotten about Hatman that we've read so far. So, but there's a lot of people who think he's just a shadow person, like a general shadow person, like all the other shadow people you see. So he's like associated very heavily in the shadow person realm as well. And
But
not necessarily like demon realm.
He would be like the shadow person though, because he has like a name.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like he's one.
He is one. I don't know. I can't decide. I kind of think there's a legion of them.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like there's got to be more than one.
Well, he's got to be able to like make himself be in more than one place at a time.
Yeah. You don't think there's like a mommy Hatman and like a daddy daughter son Hatman?
No. The Hatman family?
Yeah.
The family of Hatman?
What if, oh my gosh, what if you woke up and you saw a family of Hatman?
A family
in your
of
room? Yeah.
That's funny.
That'd be terrifying, but also kind of funny because you're like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? Yeah.
If you've seen the family of Hatman, let us know so that we can know if it's a legion of Hatman or not.
Yeah, because I didn't find a single story that said there was two of them.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Right.
So lots of questions to be had here.
Yeah. Lots of questions to be answered.
Yeah. I will leave you with one final story. And
This one's scary.
No, not really. It just kind of follows the same Reaper idea. Since we had done a Reaper, I'm going back to... I did like kind of two types of each story that I was coming across.
Okay.
So I used to work overnight security. Oh, actually, never mind. I didn't even put the fourth Reaper story. I took it out. I forgot because I had a different story in there.
She's like, no, it's not scary. It'll make you cry.
Yeah. No,
Just
I had
kidding.
one story in there to follow the Reaper timeline. But it was sad. It had an animal death and I didn't.
We don't like that here.
Yeah, I just like didn't feel right about it. So I took it out. I just forgot that I'd taken it out.
I appreciate it.
Because I'd had it there. And that's why I got confused when I was like, I've got 2 more stories. It's because I took that guy out because it made it. I was like, this is sad.
Oh,
I'm sad. Basically, they saw Hatman and then one of their animals died.
Oh,
So,
God. No,
yeah, so I just wasn't interested, you know?
I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, I took it right on out.
Thank you.
So our final story.
It's a scary
is-
one.
Yes, it is spooky. I used to work overnight security at a small warehouse outside of town. It wasn't a dangerous job or anything, mostly just walking the property every hour, checking the doors, and trying not to fall asleep between rounds. The building sat way out near an industrial area with almost nothing around except empty lots and railroad tracks. At night, it got unbelievably quiet out there. There was no traffic, no people, just wind and those distant metal sounds from the tracks every once in a while. One night, I was sitting in the security office while eating vending machine chips and watching cameras when I noticed something weird on one of the monitors. There was a person standing near the back fence. At first, I thought it maybe was one of the truck drivers because the image quality wasn't great. But the longer I looked at it, the stranger it felt. Whoever it was hadn't moved at all. They were just standing there facing the building. I zoomed the camera in. The figure looked tall and extremely dark against the fence line, almost like the camera couldn't fully process what it was seeing. I could make out the shoulders and what looked like a long coat, but the thing that stood out to me was its hat. It was wide-brimmed. I remember literally rolling my eyes because my first thought was, great, some dude wandering around dressed like a horror movie character. I grabbed my flashlight and radio and headed outside. The second I stepped out of the office, I realized how cold it had gotten, like noticeably colder than it had been 10 minutes earlier. I could actually see my breath. I walked toward the back of the lot, shining my flashlight around, expecting the guy to either run or yell or something. But when I got close to the fence line, nobody was there. I checked the entire perimeter. Nothing. No open gate, no footprints in the dirt, just nothing. I remember feeling annoyed more than I was scared because I thought that the cameras were glitching. I even radioed another guard joking that our warehouse ghost was back. Then the radio crackled, and this long burst of static came through so loud I had to pull it away from my ear. Right after the static, I heard someone breathing, slow and raspy. I said, hello? Like 3 times, thinking maybe another guard was messing with me, but nobody answered. Then I heard footsteps behind me. They were slow steps, like someone was walking slowly over gravel. I turned around with the flashlight immediately, expecting to catch somebody sneaking up behind me, but again, there was nothing. The footsteps stopped the exact second I turned around. That was when I started genuinely getting uncomfortable. I headed back toward the office faster than I'd like to admit, and the entire walk back, I had this horrible feeling that something was just behind me, following me outside of the beam of my flashlight. I got back inside, locked the office door, and sat down at the monitors again, trying to calm myself down. And that's when I saw him, standing directly outside the office window. I don't mean across the parking lot, I mean inches from the glass. The security office lights were on, so I could only really see his outline against the reflection. But he was tall enough that the top of the hat almost reached the upper frame of the window. I couldn't see eyes, I couldn't see a face, just this black outline with that stupid hat. I remember staring at him, trying to convince myself it was a reflection or maybe somebody playing a prank. But then the radio on my desk crackled again. And through the static, I heard a voice whisper, "Don't look away."
Ew.
I panicked and looked down immediately at the radio because I genuinely thought another guard was talking to me. And when I looked back up at the window, he was gone. I called the other guard right after that and asked where he was. He told me he'd been on the opposite side of the property the entire time and hadn't touched the radio. I finished the shift with every light in the office on, but the weirdest part happened the next morning. I went outside after sunrise to check around the office window because part of me still wanted proof that somebody had actually been there. And there were marks in the dirt right below the window, but they were not footprints. They were just 2 long impressions that stood side by side.
What?
It's like he didn't have real feet or shoes.
Weird.
Just lines.
Just lines.
Just lines. He's a stick man. He's
That's what I thought of.
Ahoy.
Stick. Yeah, me hoy, me noi noi.
That's what he is. That's who he is.
Oh, Jesus. I think it's funny that in general, in any story that is of this type of caliber, when you see something that you know shouldn't be there, in my world, in your world as well, I'm sure. No. First of all, we're not going to look at it.
No.
Second of all, my brain does not say, it's just some guy in a costume.
Yeah, he's just fucking around.
No.
Hell no.
That is a big bottle of hell. No.
He's a bad guy.
That's a bad guy. That's not just some guy.
If he's going to kick my ass,
Jacking
I have
around.
to kick his ass first.
Yeah,
No.
but I'm not going to kick his ass because I'm going to be running my ass away.
I'm hiding under the desk. Actually.
So that was what I thought was funny is that there's so many times where they're like, oh, I just thought it was so-and-so playing a prank on me, or I thought it was just some... Why is that the first place your brain goes?
I can tell you who's going to survive a horror movie, and it's us.
Me.
It's not these guys.
No.
I don't know. Well, some people just don't believe in stuff like this. That's not
I
their
guess.
first line of thought, you know? But for me, it's immediately like when on the snow days, that one time whenever my thing fell out of the ceiling, my air vent thing fell out of the ceiling, I immediately was like, there's a ghost coming out of my attic and it's coming to kill me.
Right.
And I ran. I did run out there because I wanted to see like, what the hell? I was home alone. Biggie was barking. And it was just my air vent that had fallen out of the ceiling.
Thank God.
Yeah. But I guess, I don't know. I'm not really much any better. And like I was asleep with weapons beside me. Did I grab a weapon when I went to see what that was?
No.
Nope. Sure didn't.
You never know what you're going to do, I guess, in a situation like that.
I always, anytime I'm uncomfortable, I never like arm myself. Like I have my arms, never grab anything. But I'm also like, I think I also know that I'm like falsely scaring myself. Like I know there's no real danger when I'm scaring myself. And I think that's why I don't actually like reach for anything. It's because I'm like, oh, I'm just doing this. Like I know that I'm just
yeah, but you just
paranoid.
never know.
I know. But I also know I'm paranoid.
You just never know.
I'm the most like.
So am I, but when I met my husband downstairs one time with the gun, because he came home.
Not when he was supposed to.
Not when he was supposed to.
He's like, please do not shoot me. Please.
Please. I'm like, well, I didn't have it like, you know.
Yeah.
Aimed or anything. I just had it.
Just had it ready.
Yeah.
Well, you were ready.
Yeah. At least I had that.
But in a situation where I'm not in my own home, no, I'm probably not going near anything. In my own home, I think I just feel a little bit, it's your home, you know, it's like your sanctuary. You feel a little bit safer. But if I was like a security guard, absolutely not. I'm not really going to check that out. But it's also their job, I guess, as a security guard.
Yeah.
Or like park rangers, how they always have the stories. It's like their job.
Yeah.
But I feel
They're
like
braver than me, I guess. That's probably what that comes down to.
Yeah, I don't think I'm running into very many situations. But we actively want to go ghost hunt. So we actively are looking for some situations.
Yeah, but like we're putting ourselves in that situation. We're like
choosing the situation.
Give or take a little bit in control of the situation.
Barely.
Yeah, barely.
Halfway.
But we can leave at any time.
Yeah, I can say.
We can run away at any time we want.
Goodbye, session done.
Yeah, over.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
You're going to stop. You're going to scream.
And cry.
You're going to cry.
Yep.
I'm going to laugh because I laugh when I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm a crier.
I laugh.
We've learned.
In any situation. Like if I'm getting yelled at and I'm uncomfortable, I'm like, and then that just pisses the person off more, you know?
Yeah.
But it's fine.
And you're like, oh, okay.
Sorry.
My bad.
I don't know how to handle this.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to laugh. But yeah, that was my Hatman.
Yeah, my questions aren't answered, but hey, I'm excited. I'm excited to hear about it.
I told you I was going to add on because there's like, we've always just been like Hatman, sleep paralysis demon. That's it.
Yeah.
And sleep paralysis demon works well with Benadryl and Hatman. Those work in tandem together because you're in sleep paralysis when you do Benadryl like that.
Correct.
But seeing him real life, real world, not so much.
Not so much.
So then that's where I'm like, okay, maybe he is. I think that's where I've worked it out to. I think through these stories and talking it out, I think he is an entity. I still don't think I know what his purpose is. But I do think he's an entity that does not only live in dreams. I think he can access you whenever you are open to it.
Yeah.
And REM sleep might be the only time you're open to it, depending on who you are, what you believe in, all of that.
Yeah.
So I think he just takes his opportunities when he can.
I could agree with that. He's an opportunist.
Opportunist. I would agree. Mr. Hatman, little opportunist.
Yeah, let us know what y'all think about Hatman, though.
Yeah, he's a very interesting little character we got going on
I would
here.
like to hear more theories and more of what other people think about him. You know?
there's a ton of Reddit threads, a ton. Huh?
I can't wait to go to sleep.
She's like, it's thundering outside.
It's thundering.
Yeah, I'm going to by the time I get to my house, it's not going to be like this.
I know.
It's only on your side of town. So when I get home, or like the other night, I was like, yes.
Oh, it poured yesterday.
Oh, it was pouring rain while I was driving home. And I was like, but I know as soon as I get home, it's going to be nothing.
Nothing. Don't you hate that?
Yeah, it's been that way.
Yeah.
Well, last night it did
It
continue
usually
to rain.
happens that to me.
I was able to fall asleep last night to the rain.
Oh, nice.
So that was nice. But yeah, so if you have any stories you'd like to share, any recommendations on episodes you'd like to hear, any of the good stuff, send it to sistersofthestrangepodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to join our Discord. It is now in the show notes. It should be in the show notes. If the link does not work, please comment and let us know. I have it set to where it should work. Invitation should not expire, but
yeah,
sometimes the internet is finicky. So all of that, we have our website is in the works. We're getting that going.
So close.
I know it's really like turning out super cool. And you'll notice that there's just things changing, not on the podcast, but like our episode titles and things like that. I'm going back in and trying to fix it.
We're just
all up.
revamping some stuff. Well, I
Yeah.
say Landry's doing all of it.
I just have the urge, so I'm doing it. You know, do it while I feel like it
Can't complain.
before I can't or
Yeah.
don't want to. So if you'll notice any of that, that's great. And I actually do have the sources for this. Sometimes I forget that I need to keep track of my sources. I kept track of my sources this time. So
Proud
they
of
will
you.
also be in the show notes.
Yay.
I know. I just feel like I was like really ahead today.
You're doing great. You're doing great work.
Yeah. I don't know why. I think I'm getting my inspiration back. I think I'm getting my, not necessarily inspiration for the podcast, but I think I'm getting back into the normal routine groove of life. So yeah, I think that's all we've got though. Follow us on all of our social medias at Sisters of the Strange. And we will see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Sisters of the